have been the fact that I was stuck on the works Wi-Fi. So as I was driving away, the Wi-Fi disconnected, and it's not like a call where it just switches over to data.
Right.
That's what I was like, what? Why? Oh, but no, it's I'm cool with people doing projects and all this stuff, but I don't think anybody has anything for the projects they want to do. Like this weekend, for instance. Well, let's look at last week. Last week we did like a 26% comp over last year, and it was 24% over forecast. So granted, we were going into one of what's supposed to be a busier selling season, spring, Black Friday and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But last year we did like 599. No, this year's goal was 599, and we did 740. Like, it's just
So you're
crazy.
telling me that the sales are that much more above
No.
what you projected?
26%, 24% above what we projected
During a shelter-in-place pandemic situation in this country.
Yep. Saturday, my store did $144,000, which on our busy days we do. On our busy days during a peak selling season, we do like 80 to 100. We did 144,000 with 2,600 transactions. All of that is well above our normal.
Good grief.
Yeah, this is why I've been getting so frustrated and I've been getting burnt out, and like the sheer amount of running around I have to do right now. I mean, not only because we have increased foot traffic and I'm one of the managers, but because we have people calling off because like the company has basically told people that if you don't feel good, don't show up to work. Like anything, it doesn't matter if it's a COVID related type thing where it's like, I feel congested in the lungs or I feel feverish. It's like, if you have a sore throat, don't come in. If you've got a cough for some reason, don't come in. Because obviously, if you're sick for some reason, your immune system's going to be weaker and you're more susceptible to the virus. But none of these call-offs count against you because of what's going on. So we've got people calling out because they either don't feel good, or we got people that can't come to work because the kids are homeschooled and they have no one to watch them. So we're shorter staffed than normal. More people are coming into the stores because they're bored. I mean, I don't mind people coming in for their cleaning supplies, their water, their toilet paper, but I've sold so much flooring over the past 2 weeks. It's crazy. And it's like, how essential is this?
Well, I mean, it's the same thing here in my area. Whenever there's a hurricane, people immediately run to Lowe's and Home Depot to get their flooring. I mean, I don't see how it's any different.
Yes.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I guess there should be like a like people do a spoiler alert. I should do like a sarcasm alert whenever I'm speaking. I apologize.
Yeah, but it's crazy. This weekend I got, because I wear my Fitbit all the time.
Oh, I
It was
saw
like,
the numbers you were posting.
yeah, over 23,000 steps on Saturday, and then Sunday was like 27,000. And that is above and beyond my normal. So like I'm just tired. I'm so exhausted. It's like I work, I go crazy at work, and by the time I get home, I just don't want to do anything. And I'm trying to follow all the protocols. I'm trying to like stay away from the customers, but they want to walk right up in your space and they want to talk to you like nothing's wrong with the world. Even though 50% of the people are walking around with masks.
I still can't really believe that. I was floored a week or so ago. So since we've been home, we went on spring break. We came back. I don't know what that was, March 13th. We've been back and we've been staying in the house ever since. But we had boarded our dog and we picked her up from the boarding place. And so she has been like out of her crate because there's been no need for her to go in a crate because we've always been here. But
Right.
every afternoon, I've been taking her on a walk. And fortunately for us, there's a green belt, just at the end of our street, good walking path. And we go out there, we go walking, and every once in a while I see somebody else who's out there, and we just make sure that we steer clear from each other. But there's a park at the, towards the end of this walking trail, and swing sets and all that stuff because it's in a neighborhood. And there was a family there. There was like a guy
Mhm.
with like 3 or 4 kids, and they were on the swings and playing around. And I was like, what are you doing out here playing on this equipment? And then the one of the daughters, who must have been, I don't know, 10 years old, 10, 11, 12, said, "Hey, can I pet your dog?" I'm like, I was like, no, no. No, and I said some weird nonsensical message about, oh, not with everything that's going on, but maybe she didn't
Right.
even understand what all was going on. But
Yeah.
I
But
don't
I mean,
understand it.
I think that if you're a kid in school, you should have at least a minor understanding of what's going on, because it's obviously not normal to not be in school right now for a huge extended period of time.
Right.
And like, my 14-year-old, he knows what's going on. He doesn't care what's going on. So I know I've said it before, but his sperm donor is homeless, right? He has a job. He just refuses to grow up and be an adult and have any responsibilities. So he's still essentially homeless, been that way for like 7 years. I have no idea where he bathes or anything like that, but works at like a Sherwin-Williams in town. But he has to do everything by bus. So he gets to work by bus. He goes to wherever he's going by bus. It used to be during the day, if he wasn't working, he'd be in the library, but those are all closed down. So I don't know what he's doing. Probably hanging out at like a Burger King or something. But, he's constantly got to be around strangers. So we were taking the kids over to her parents' house because they're casino workers and they haven't been at work for a while. And, the
Right.
whole thing was like, you can't go hang out with your dad with everything that's going on. No offense to him, but we can't expose your grandparents to like more potential problems. So the
Right.
one day we find it out, he calls up his dad and they go hang out for the day. And it's like, dude, and I'm asking, like, what did you do that for? Well, I was bored. I'm like, yeah, but people are getting sick and dying. And we can't, like, your grandparents are old, they're diabetic, there are hazards here, which is why everybody's trying to stay away from everybody, which is why you haven't been in school. And he's like, well, yeah, but I was bored and I only did it once. I'm like, okay, but like, look at it from my perspective. Your dad's riding the bus with people he doesn't know. If somebody coughs on him and he gets it, even if he doesn't get sick, he hangs out with you. He could give it to you even though you don't get sick. And then you could give it to your grandparents. They could potentially get sick and die because they're older and they have health problems. I was like, and all because you were bored. I was like, I don't mean to sound like a dick here, but this is the situation. I was like, I can't even go visit my parents because my mom has a bad immune system. So if somebody gives me something at work because I'm forced to deal with like 1,000 people a day, I can give it to her, and then I just wiped out my parents. So I have to do their grocery shopping, leave the food in the garage so that they can come out, pick it up, and take it into the house. This isn't a joke. The casinos don't close on a whim and a prayer. The
Right.
casinos are the reason that Las Vegas is in business, and they all shut down, and they've been shut down. This isn't like, I'm bored, let's go out. Like, what don't you do? Well, it was just one time. And like, he refuses to get the severity of the situation. And at this point, I just feel like there's no way that I can explain it to him. But it's like, it blows my mind. And I don't know if it's because, everybody's always so interconnected. And when was the last time something like this happened? A century ago that nobody remembers? But the internet, the phones, the fact that everything is so, nobody has a chance to be bored anymore because it's always like screen time or something. I don't think people know how to deal with stay home. You have to have downtime. There's no way around it. So they're just like, well, let's just go to the store and buy something. We'll start a project.
Yeah, I think the people that are able to best cope with what's going on are those people who are introverts, like my wife. My wife is incredibly introverted, and I think for the most part, she's okay with not going out of the house and not really communicating with people. I mean, she's a teacher, but she's always struggled with having to be around people and like the little kids wanting to like hug her and just be around her all the time. So when she was, a teacher in a classroom, she would come home and be completely exhausted because she was just so wiped out from all the interactions that she had. I mean,
Yeah.
now she's a sped teacher, so it's more one on one, which is a lot better for her. And me, on the other hand, I mean, I get charged up mostly whenever I'm in front of my classroom, when I'm interacting with
Yeah.
my students and learning about their lives and the crazy things they do, and we just get to sit and laugh and just have a good time. So I'm stuck at home with with nothing. I'm not saying that my family is nothing, but my wife is doing her work, and
Right.
my kids are doing their stuff and playing video games, and it's not the same kind of interactions I would have with them that I would have, say, with you and the rest of the backlog busters, or some of the other friends that I would hang out with.
Right. I mean, like your life, you have this routine, and right now that routine is completely broken. You're out of your element, you know. Like I've always been more introverted than extroverted, but I've always had like a couple of friends that I talk to all the time or I could see all the time, and I have like one of my buddies from high school lives out in Vegas. But it's like I saw him once since this happened because he came into the store looking to see if we had some bleach and some other stuff. You know, it was nice. I was happy to see somebody out and about because they were looking for the essentials and then they were going home. And
Right.
he stopped. We had like a 10-minute conversation. He left, and like as soon as like he was gone, I was like, "Damn, I missed that." Like, yeah, I can call him up or whatever, but I've never been a big on the phone type of person. I like to have that face to face. I like to have the conversation. Like, oh hey, there's a our buddy has a wrestling thing, and there's some guys in town. We'll go hang out for a couple of hours, get a couple autographs or something, and just BS. And I don't have that, and I'm not used to. Even though I think I've improved a lot since starting the Backlog Busters with Jeremy, having these over the air conversations instead of like face to face type things. It's like, and I know you've reached out and you're like, hey, if you need to talk, call me. And it's weird because like I'm just not used to talking on a phone like by myself without somebody there, and I'm not used to being able to express myself without having somebody else there that I can like look at their reactions and judge them and like make the joke when it's appropriate to break the tension and stuff like that. So
Right. I
I,
I, I totally get you. I
I
don't do
would
well
reach
with
out and see if we could have a conversation on the way home to break that.
yeah. I mean, my whole job is reading and reacting to the crowd, and
Yeah.
all that's going away now as we convert 100% to online instruction. My students are concerned about it. I'm concerned about it, but just gonna put on my big boy pants and make it work. Um, but I agree with you. Just talking to someone on the phone. I mean, I was able to do that when I was in high school because that's all I had. That was the limits of our technology back in the day. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Back in
definitely having
high
like
school,
the face to face stuff is. I'm sorry.
yeah, back in high school, I had like a 286 computer. There was no video chat. I mean, when I went to college, it was like I discovered IRC, and AOL Instant Messenger started around that same time. But like, I guess the kids growing up were like, this is their life, and from the time that they grow up, they have the capabilities of all these screens. It's easier for them. They do more Skyping and Apple FaceTime chatting thingies, and I guess I'm just an old curmudgeon where it's like, how about we go out and have a beer and discuss life's problems, and then at the end we'll be like, see you next week. Like you said, read and react to the crowd. That's what you do with your class. That's I do that at work to a degree, but I have to be more reserved because I'm in a management position. So I have to put the happy face on and be like, the company has our best interest at heart. Everybody's worried. Everybody's scared. If you need someone to talk to, get a hold of me. But, there's no reason to walk around the store and be in negative, because then everybody's just going to be moody and grumpy and nobody's going to want to be here, even though nobody wants to be here. So, being very rah, rah, rah right now also exhausts the hell out of me.
Yeah, on my end, I'm experiencing the same thing with students reaching out saying, you know, I purposely took this class because it was face to face, and that's how I learned the best. Doing an online
Yeah.
class is hard enough. An online math class is extra hard. And I'm like, yeah, this is the same reason why I teach face to face, and I have never done an online class. But I have been working these past weeks coming up with guided notes and examples and creating videos, and I've been streaming every afternoon to refresh and review over the stuff we've done for the first half of the semester. I'm like, and the communication I have with my students, the few that have reached out to me, I'm like, we're going to get through this together. We're going to get through this together. It's new for you. It's new for me. We're just going to make the best of what we have, and we're gonna work together. I'm not going to say,
Yeah.
you know what? Yeah, this whole thing sucks. It's not going to work. We're all going to fail. And it can definitely be exhausting. And I'm hoping that things work out well. But my situation is a bit different than yours. There is a little bit more control that I have on my end, but you're having to deal with people who are showing up and making unwise decisions sometimes out of boredom, and
Yeah.
that really sucks. That that's what you have to deal with.
Right. And I mean, I don't know, like, this, obviously nobody's gone through this before. This is all new and crazy. But,
Right.
and I don't think that, I honestly think that there's this huge subset of people that believe in the next couple of months, life's going to go back to normal. And like me, I think there is some sort of new normal around the corner. Like, life
Right.
will be resumed. Like, hey, I'm going to get to start taking my kids to the park again. Things are going to open. There will be sporting events again. But I think that there's going to be this new huge contingency of, social distancing. Maybe it's not, I have to stay 6 feet away from everybody, but it's going to be a whole lot more cautious. And I just feel like there's a lot of people that are in for this weird rude awakening when in 2 months they don't get to wake up and life is exactly like it was before.
Well, and I don't want to make any kind of weird, unfair comparisons, but you think about probably in our lifetimes, one of the biggest events that changed the way our country works and operates was, it was the attacks on September 11th. And people wanted to go back to normal after that. And we got to a new normal, though. It was never what it was before. The way that you went to a sporting event changed. The way security was handled changed. The way that if you're going to go on a flight, that totally changed. And I think that's
Yes.
probably what's going to happen after the end of this. There are certain practices that we do that are going to change. Like I was like the whole handshaking thing. Sometimes I'm like, yes, I want a handshake because I want you to know that I've got a strong handshake and I believe what I'm saying, and it's a way for me to welcome you. And I'm the kind of person who likes to touch. A
Right.
hug, handshake, that's me. But there are also times where, like, I don't want to touch you. I don't want to shake your hand because I know that you're the guy that I see in the bathroom who doesn't wash his hands.
Okay.
So,
So I don't mean to interrupt, but I had a moment at work where I was fairly certain that if I didn't literally and physically bite my tongue, I would have risked being fired. So I am in the bathroom the other day, and a stall opens up, and a guy walks behind me and he leaves the bathroom without washing his hands. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I stopped and like I walked over and I like watched because I wanted to see what this guy looked like, because when I go out there and have to interact with the public again, I want to make sure that I make this guy as socially distant away from me no matter what. But I
Right.
almost was like, yo, you need to get back here. There's a pandemic. And it was like, you just took a crap and you didn't wash your hands. Like, this, I know guys are gross, and I know there's a whole lot of people that don't wash their hands all the time. But man, it's too much. And normally I would just not say anything and I would make jokes to people. But I had to literally bite my tongue because of that. And I just wanted to call him back in there. But obviously, if I harass a customer like that, it goes up to corporate and I lose my job, because that's just not good for business. But like, I can't believe that there's people operating like that during times like these. So freaking weird that, like, in their mind, nothing is different except for some businesses are shut down or something.
Yeah. I mean, kind of to piggyback off what that story right there. This is before all the pandemic stuff. I remember I was at my work, and I was sitting there washing my hands, and a guy, just like you were saying, comes out of the stall. I thought, oh, he's just gonna leave, but he goes up to the sink. I went, okay, good. Turns the water on. There you go. Then he cups his hands and drinks out of his cupped hands. Splashes some water on his face, to freshen up, and then he leaves. And as the door was closing behind him, I saw his girlfriend right there. They just put his arms around. I went, oh, you had no idea.
Like, oh God. Not only did he not wash, but he drank out of those same hands.
Oh, this is the same example I use at the beginning of every semester when I encourage my students to wash their hands with soap. We're going through the
Yeah.
syllabus, and it gets to there's like one of these default sections of the syllabus. It's in every syllabus. Something about virus protection. It's really for computers, but I said, you know what? Speaking of viruses, make sure that when you go to the bathroom, you wash your hands with soap and warm water. Like, I shouldn't have to be telling, adult students this, but I do.
Yeah.
And I'm
Like,
sitting there
like
listening to my
I
own
get,
own.
ugh, ugh. I'm
Sorry.
just like picturing that and I'm shivering. And I can't get that image out of my head now.
Oh, what I shared with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Every time I'm always judging, and I hope every time I go into the bathroom, I'm just hoping that no one else is in there. Like, I don't want anybody else to be in here, not because of me, but I don't want to see what you do or don't do when you're in here.
Yeah.
How many times I've gone in there and people are like having interviews, conversations as they're going to the bathroom. Like,
I don't understand the people that talk on the phone while they're doing their business. That is
no,
weird.
no,
There's an echo. People know what you're doing. They know where you're at. There may
yeah.
be some other bodily noises. Like, I love my wife, but I don't want to hear her fart on the phone. Like,
That's
just
something I
have
want to
some
hear in
conversation.
person.
Like, if I call you and you're, let's just say you're doing your business, you don't have to take that phone call. You can get back to me.
Right,
I'm willing to have barriers even over the phone.
right.
Ugh.
Going back to what you were saying about, your parents or your in-laws and dropping food off for them, just dropping in the garage. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that um, I'm kind of missing the most here, because my in-laws live about 10, 15 minutes away, and we were used to seeing them every weekend. They'd watch the boys, or they would say, hey, you guys want to come over? My father-in-law was going to grill. Like, oh, you're going to provide food, we don't have to cook or clean? Yeah, sure, we'll come over. And just to hang out
Mhm.
with them and spend time, and it was great. But we all went on spring break together. We all went to the beach together, and since we've been back, I think I've seen them. I think I saw them about maybe 3 weeks ago, whenever we were delivering groceries to them. But
Yeah.
we haven't actually been there. We've done some some video chatting. That's it, and that's really really tough.
Yeah.
And especially for my wife because she's really close with them. But even like I know that they have not been out and they have not been around anything, and we're doing our best not to like we don't go out. My kids don't leave the house except to take the dog out in the backyard to go to the bathroom, and I only leave when I go to do curbside pickup at the grocery store. Like I don't touch anybody, I don't speak to anybody. They just say, they just put the groceries in the back and I drive away.
Yeah.
But even with all the safety that we're doing, I'm still not going and hanging out with my in-laws. We're not mixing households. My father-in-law is in his 70s. He's got COPD, and we know that those are two huge strikes against him. So that if he were to catch this virus, that might be the end for him.
Right.
And some people will say, "Well, you know what? I don't care if I get sick." I'm like, guys, it's not about you getting sick. It's about other people that could get sick from you and from your actions. And that whole mentality of I don't care if I get sick is so selfish. It sickens me. That
Right. And
we should be
that's,
looking out for other people.
yeah, and that's the thing that worries me the most is like, you know, I don't care if I'm the one getting sick, but like I don't want to spread it to my kids, my family. I don't want my wife to get it and then, like this is the reason why now with everything still getting worse, not being anywhere near where people want it, it's like the wife and I are trying to figure out like, okay, if she can get the early shifts at work and I can get the late shifts at work, then, she can work till a certain time, come home, and I can leave at a certain time. And, the 14-year-old only has to watch, the 5-year-old for like an hour and a half. And that'll be during the 2-year-old's nap so that, there's less for him to worry about. And it's like trying to do that balance. So this weekend, for instance, I worked extra long shifts. I put in over 20 hours of work, and that doesn't include my drive time or my lunch time. It was like on the clock, 20 plus hours, so that during the week, like if she's working in the morning, I'm going to have to shave a couple hours by showing up late. And it's just crazy that we have to like do this just to make sure that we're not risking other people's health. And that's like you said, that's what other people aren't thinking about. They're just thinking, well, hope I don't get it or don't care if I get it. But they're not thinking about the fact that, well, if you get it, how many people do you talk to? How many people do they interact with? Even if it's, I mean, you said you're distancing yourself from your in-laws, even they're close, but I know a whole lot of people that aren't doing that. It's like, well, we just visit family. Well, how do you know that they haven't visited somebody or they haven't, it's just, I don't know. This is a weird one where it's like the way they say it spreads quicker than other stuff and it spreads more often than other stuff. Like, why don't you look at the news where they said everybody needs to stay in for 2 to 3 weeks and just be like, there must be a reason they said that, right?
Yeah, it was like one of the biggest grocery chains here in the state, and they don't really operate outside of the state. You know, made a had a press release saying like, guys, when you come to the store, do not bring your whole family. All you need to do is send one person to go to the store. We know that you may be bored, but and so they're talking to the families when they come in. It's like, okay, you did it this time. Please don't do this again. And that's one of the things they've really gotten out of this whole pandemic is you really can see what some businesses stand for.
Yes.
Who do they care about? Because this I've been a fan of this grocery chain for years. Ever since I moved to Texas, I love it. And during this time, they have increased the wages of their workers by $2 an hour. They've made it easier for people to take off. They've implemented the social distancing practices in the store and for people waiting outside. and they've turned all the facilities that they have for making their in-store products. They said, instead of making 25 different types of bacon, we're focusing on just doing 2 different varieties. That way we can get more product out. So we're going to be limiting some of your options, but don't worry, we have supply chains ready to go. And they were even talking about how once it started in China, that they have a task force that was already ready to move and to make sure that they had the proper supply chains and the the materials they needed so that they can keep their stores stocked. I mean,
That's
living
awesome.
in a living in a Gulf Coast state, there's always this. You're always going to be prepared, try to be prepared for a hurricane. And they're saying, well, it's one thing when you're just trying to divert resources from other stores that were not affected, but you're trying to make sure that all of these stores in the whole state that are being affected have the right materials. And it's just kind of neat to see the things that they're saying and to see what they're doing. Um, and I've been very appreciative of that. I mean, that's really the only grocery store I like to go to, and I can do the curbside pickup like I was mentioning before. Just, I know some things may be a little bit more expensive doing it that way, but I'm going to pay a little bit more, so I'm not risking, hopefully, my family or even the workers.
Right. And to be honest, that would be a place that I would want to frequent even after this is over, because they are doing things, literally doing things to try to slow down the spread as much as possible, because obviously people need groceries. But like you said, and unless you're like a single parent and you don't have anybody that can watch your kid, go by yourself.
Right.
You know, like obviously, if a mother walks in with 2 children and it's because nobody can watch her kid because she can't take to her parents because they might get sick, and she's distancing herself everywhere, but now she's got a couple of kids or something, that's different than me, my wife, taking our 3 kids to the grocery store to go shopping just to do it as a family. um that's something that I've heard some companies are doing, where it's like, you know what, if you come in, that's great, but come in by yourself. Whereas, you know, what I'm dealing with at work is, the other day we had someone come in to buy flooring, and it was a husband, a wife, and their 4 children. And the children were all like 10 and under. And it's like, do you really need to bring them out here? Or we see people coming into the store wearing masks and their children don't have any masks or gloves on.
Hmm.
I'm like, what is the message you're sending? I'm going to do this so I don't get sick, but you don't need it?
Well, my sister-in-law was noticing that when she was at a Walmart, someone who was wearing gloves, just a customer wearing gloves, touching the shopping cart and all the other stuff, and then using that same hand on her cell phone and putting it right up to her
Yep.
face.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well,
There are
at
so
that point,
many people.
those gloves aren't doing anything for you now.
So to me, and I've been explaining this to other people, like coworkers who are, let's say, not using things properly. Um, like you said, you got the customer that's wearing the gloves, and that's all fine and dandy. But then while you're wearing the gloves, you pull your phone out of your pocket. Your phone's not sanitized. Then you put the phone away, and it's like you just compromised your gloves, whatever you touched. Even if your phone was sanitized, you just compromised the phone now.
Hmm.
Like to me, and I've tried, like, I started retail when back braces were a thing and people were required to wear them so that you remember to lift properly. It doesn't do anything for your back. It's there to remind you to lift properly. And I honestly think that people are wearing these masks and wearing these gloves just because it makes them feel better. They're doing everything the same way that they did. I've seen people wearing masks that'll come up to me to ask me a question and pull the mask down to talk to me and then put it back up.
Good grief.
Yeah. So it's like, well, what's the point of the mask? You're not even wearing it properly because you grabbed it from the top and pulled it down to talk to me. So wherever it would cup the bridge of your nose is not cupping the bridge of your nose properly after that. But not only that, but like you just exposed your full face for a conversation. Like that's the whole thing you want to avoid right now.
Yeah,
I
that's,
don't get it.
you know, one of the things I'm not going to miss about teaching face to face are the students who cough without covering their mouth.
Yeah.
I've had so many students just coming in and coughing. I'm like, dude, cover your mouth. Like I'm having to talk to you like you're my own child who can't remember the simple things. I'm like, there's someone who's sitting in front of you, and I know that they felt their hair move when you coughed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there have been times that we've been in church and someone behind us starts coughing a lot. So you know what? I think we're gonna move to a different pew right now. Just but I don't like hearing the coughing behind me. But
Yeah. And now when somebody coughs, you almost see people literally jump out of their flesh.
yeah, I mean, no, if I'm coughing or sneezing, I'm gonna tell you right now, that's because the pollen around here has been crazy. Like I go in
Yes.
my backyard and when I'm with my dog for 2 minutes, I come back in and I start sneezing. I'm like, it's okay, guys.
Yeah.
It's allergies. And it's something I've been
Yeah.
plagued with my whole life.
Oh, that's what I've had to tell a whole lot of people recently because the weather was like warmer, then it got cold, then it got warmer, then it got cold, and then tonight it rained. So literally for the last 2 weeks, while everybody's on high alert, my allergies are acting up. I've had red, itchy, watery eyes. My nose has been stuffy. I'm not sick. I promise you. If I were sick, I would call off. You guys will pay me to stay at home right now. If I were sick, I would be staying at home. I am not risking everybody's life. I have bad allergies. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But you know what? I'll risk the allergies just to get out of the house for a little bit. Just like I said, I take my dog on the walk and she loves it. She wears herself out because she won't stay next to
Yeah.
me. And she sees a squirrel and there's other dogs. I'm like, they're not, what are you doing? Leave them alone. They can't get you. You can't get them. But just to get out. And I'm just trying to convince the rest of my family to go on a walk. But there's
Yeah.
this fear of being outside. I'm like, guys, if we see people, we stay 15 feet away from them. We make a
And
big
it's
circle
easier to
around
do
them.
outside.
Well, yeah, I mean, because we're not walking on just like the normal sidewalks in front of our house. Like I said, they're pretty wide walking paths, so you got plenty of room to to move. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna try to get more. Maybe get my wife to go out again. But there's just again, there's a fear that part of it needs to be overcome. I think if you're going outside safely, like just to go, like to walk your dog, and you're staying away from people. Um, but again, look, we're not going to go to stores because that's a different thing. But I think it's good for your health to at least get outside, even if it's just sitting in your backyard for a little bit. Just get outside, get some sun on you if you've got sun.
Yeah. So speaking of backyards, I just pulled into my driveway. All the lights in the house are off, which means the wife probably got the children to bed. This means it's time for a Corona and a hot tub. Yes, I know. I know, but I couldn't help it. The first time I went to the grocery store, I'm like, I got to, and I bought a case of it. So I appreciate the conversation tonight. This made my drive home a lot better, and I feel better about life, even though I truly expected we were going to talk about Animal Crossing for most of this
You
call.
know, I did want to bring up Animal Crossing real quick because
Okay.
I tried to model the outside of my house after what I imagine your house looks like. So there is a pool in front of my house that is lit up from underneath, and there is a brickyard oven or a brick oven right next to it for grilling. And every time I look at that, I'm like, I bet this is what it's like to be at Serge's house.
Well, see, that would be more my backyard than my front, but I'll try to get some pictures from like the bedroom window, some down pictures. Be like, this is where it's at. These are my favors. But Yeah, no, I totally expected we were going to dive into Animal Crossing. Like that was my plan. I wanted to complain for a couple of minutes and then talk about video games on the way home, and then call it like the pandemic cast. Make a Sean Capri joke and be like, "This is the most pandemic podcast on the internet." But that didn't
We'll
happen.
right. Well, you know what? Because of what you've stolen from Sean Capri, and I'll steal from you and him. Three things I'm thankful for: conversation with you. I'll throw in Animal Crossing, and I'm going to throw in curbside pickup for grocery stores.
I will definitely say that tonight I am I am thankful for this conversation. I feel a lot better than I did when I left the store. I am thankful for my store manager because we had a manager meeting every Monday, and he bought us all pizza and bought enough that there was leftovers to give to, a bunch of people in the store as well so that they could eat during the day. And I am thankful that it's not raining anymore so that I don't have to get rained on in the hot tub. Because that's really weird to have cold rain coming down on you while you're sitting in a hot tub. And I'm willing to end it on that. So I'm going to get inside. Thank you for this conversation.
No
And
problem.
if you don't mind, I do want to post it because I think there's a
Sure.
lot of people out there that can hear that we have the same fears and reactions that they do. It's not just them going through it. It's not just them dealing with it. And maybe they can look at like the craziness that is, my retail life right now and be like, at least I don't have to do that. So, uh,
Yep. Yep.
but
Well, as always, stay safe out there. And I know you're doing all that you can. And I just hope the best for you and your family, that you guys will stay safe. And I just hope that the rest of the people that are out there will also do safe actions.
I can't argue with any of that. Everybody, stay safe and listen to the Backlog Busters. It makes your life better. I'll talk to you later, Ryan.
So yeah.
Bye.
Bye.